Okay, so this is the third of the methods for solving, but it's actually from the first section. I mean, we touched on it a little bit. It just, if we're going to solve systems by graphing, then if you're going to graph by hand, I mean, nobody's perfect when you're graphing. I mean, and your ability to just get it so precise. We don't want to depend on everybody's individual graphing ability. But that's one of the reasons why we get graphing calculators to work within this class. So we'll do this method, and my guess is that some of you will prefer to do this method. So for example, let's just remember what it means here to solve by graphing. These two equations are a system, right? They're both in slope-intercept form. So to solve by graphing means, let me graph them both. The first one has a y-intercept of -3, so I graph the -3. Oops, wrong. And the slope is 2, so I go up 2, right 1, and with that I can draw a line. Okay, the other equation has a y-intercept of +2, and the slope is -3, so down 3, right 1, and then I draw a line. That look good? Okay, now where do you see the intersection point, or where do you see the solution on there? It's right there, right? It's wherever they cross. And this one, because I did use a good background and I was fairly careful with the way I drew, I think we've got the right point. It looks like it's 1, -1. How can I confirm that that's the right solution? Yeah, you could go back up here and just plug in. Let's see if we plug in 1. Do we get -1? 2 times 1 minus 3, -1. -3 times 1 is -3, plus 2 is -1. So you check, and it works. Okay. But again, we want to learn how to do this by graphing with the calculator. So here's the steps, right? You got to be trying to play along with this. Pick up a calculator and actually try to do this. Okay. So the first thing we're going to have to do is graph. Now, how do you graph a function in the calculator? You go to y equals, the top left button right there. And you should see this screen. If your calculator is messed up, because we use them for different things in this class, you can clear the memory. Second plus 712. Try that. Second plus 712. And now go back to the same place. Okay. So make it look like that, right? Okay. And then, yeah, I mean, you could hit, once you do that, you could hit graph and see what you see. Now, Felicity's is like zoomed out, kind of funny. If you want to get it back to the normal look, do zoom 6. So the zoom is right there. Zoom 6. And then it'll pull it out anyways. Okay, so you enter the equations. You enter the equations, and then you do this, right? Second trace, right? The trace button is right there. So second trace. And you see in this menu, the number 5 says intersect. So that's going to tell us the intersection point of these two. Okay. So when you do that, second trace 5, the calculator is drawing the graph. And you should just pause for a second, let it finish drawing the graph. And then it's going to have a screen that looks something like that, and it's going to be saying first curve. Okay, in the end, you're going to end up just hit enter 3 times. Just hit enter 3 times. Right? The first time it says first curve, the second time it says second curve, the third time it says guess. If the intersection point is on the screen, you're always just going to hit enter, enter, enter. And then it should come up with a screen that looks like this. And it says the intersection 1, -1. So second trace 5, enter, enter, enter. Yeah. That's the answer right there. Yes, you can. You know, the number one important thing to know here is what is the solution to a system? It's the intersection point. Like when we take the SOLs, there's usually maybe, let's say, 3 questions that are about systems. One of them is that simple. It's like a graph like that, and it says, what is the solution? It's probably one where you click on with the mouse. So you just click on that point, you're done, right? So you got to understand that main point. So, you know, whether you get that with the graphing or by solving substitution elimination, that's a pretty good point to know. Okay, how are we doing? Did everybody get that? Adam, did you get it? Okay. John, did you get it? Okay. So here I'm going to solve this one by graphing. Now, the difference between this problem and the first one we did is these aren't solved for y. So before you can go to the y equals button, you've got to solve for y. Right, so let's do that first. How do I solve the first one for y? Right. So I add x, right? If it's a negative x on the left, it's a positive x on the right, you still have a minus 2. How about the next one? Yeah, you subtract 2x, right? So now we've got negative y equals negative 2x plus 6. That's not solved for y yet. So go say it again, Hunter. Multiply or divide by negative 1, right? I like to multiply because that's a property. And then what does that look like when I do that? 2x minus 6. Okay, so that's what you want to go to the calculator with, right? So go ahead and try that. Go to y equals, replace those 2 equations that you had with those 2 equations. Then second trace 5. Enter, enter, enter. No, the y's there. Right? There's already a y1 and a y2. See how fast I can do this. Clear. Y equals. Got to clear the memory. Second plus 712. Y equals x minus 2. 2x minus 6. Okay. I'm going to look at the graph before I do anything. So there's one, there's the other. Do you see the solution to the system on the screen? Yeah, it's an intersection point and it's right there. So I'm going to go second, trace, 5, enter, enter, enter. And it looks like the solution is 4, 2. So 4, 2. Right? How are we doing? Lily? Did you get it? No. Did you put it in like that? Yeah. Let me see. So your graph is not in the middle. Go like this. Go zoom. 6. Okay. Okay, now when it's done, now do second trace 5. Enter, enter, enter. There you go. So the problem she had is that on the intersection point wasn't on the screen. The graph had been moved, right? If the graph is moved and you can't see the intersection point, it's not going to work. Okay, so you got to have the intersection point on the screen. Yeah. I didn't divide, I multiplied by negative 1. So here, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, and I get that. Okay. Eight. Okay, try that one. That's a you try. think. Right, so the first one is simple. I can just say y equals x plus x minus 7, right? Move the x over. Okay, this one, I got to take 2 steps. The first step, I'm going to subtract x. So that is 4y equals negative x minus 8. And then I've got to divide by 4, which is going to give me negative x minus 8 over 4. Okay, at that point, you could just leave it like that. You don't have to try to split those up. It doesn't matter for the calculator, and we are not being asked, you know, what is the y equals mx plus b form of this. So in my calculator, right, I'm going to go like this. On the first one, I will put in, clear, x minus 7. Okay, now, just so because I can, where do I find the fraction format in the calculator? Alpha, y equals 1. So watch this. Alpha, y equals 1. And then in the numerator, I'll put the negative x minus 8. And in the denominator, I'll put 4. So see, I didn't even try to simplify it. I just left it like negative x minus 8 over 4. It's okay, right? Now, look at the graph. There's one line. There's the other. Do you see the solution on the screen? It's there, so you can do your second trace 5. Enter, enter, enter. And it looks like the answer is 4, negative 3. So just remember that when you, for our purposes here, when we're solving for y, we don't necessarily have to like completely solve it like we've done before. It's okay if you just put it in the fraction format or put parentheses around everything and divide by 4. It's okay to leave it like that. Okay, next. Okay, now notice this one. I mean, you could try to do this one yourself. I've already done it on the screen. Right, so 5/3 x plus 17 on the first line, 10x minus 8 on the second line, and you look at the graph, and the intersection point is not on the screen. So I can't do that method yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do zoom 3. I think I can pull this down first. There you go. Right, zoom is right there. 3 is zoom out. So if you load these on Y1 and Y2, then do zoom 3, enter, and you'll see that screen. And now do you see the intersection point? Yeah. So now you can do second trace 5, enter, enter, enter. Okay, you should be trying it, right? Make sure you can do it. Make sure you can see it. Jack, did you do it? So the thing is, once you've gotten your the screen is like zoomed out like that, the next time you use your calculator, if it's zoomed out, you may not like it. So how do you go back to the normal? Zoom 6. Zoom 6 is zoom standard, right? This one, zoom 6, will bring it back out to the middle. You good, Hunter? Okay, then this is classwork right here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 problems to solve with the calculator. Turn it in by the end of class. You got 20 minutes. And then I'll give you a worksheet to bring home for homework. But it won't be about graphing with the calculator.